Hi everybody, it's Terry Ryder from Hotspotting. Just a quick post and a reminder that tonight is our monthly live Q&A. It's on this evening. A little bit more about that in a moment, but I just want to refer to a number of headlines that we're seeing at the moment talking about national dwelling values are falling according to the headlines, and this results from an issue that I talk about quite a bit, which is the way in which some of the research companies, economists and media like to generalise and talk about what's happened to Australian property values, which I think is an absurd concept, given that we have so many differences with markets doing different things, some rising, some falling, some rising a lot, some rising a little, some stagnating across the country. So why do we talk about national property values are doing X? And the headlines recently talking about national dwelling values are falling. Well, of course, that's not the case at all. It's essentially a problem that in annual terms that Sydney has fallen. And Sydney is such a big market that it influences the overall generalised figure. And we end up with an annual situation, according to one source, where national dwelling values in the last 12 months have fallen 0.4%, which isn't a particularly serious situation, but the question is what's really happening behind that generalised figure. How they come up with that figure is that the combined capitals have had an overall average drop, the average across the 8 capital cities of 1.1%, largely through Sydney. And but the combined regions have actually risen 2.2%. So the regional areas are rising, and some regional areas are rising a lot more than that, such as Newcastle and Geelong and the Sunshine Coast, and a few others. But within the capital cities themselves, only 3 of the 8 capital cities have actually had an annual decline. Perth and Darwin, which have been negative markets for a number of years, and still, according to these figures, a little bit in the negative. But Sydney is the main factor. No longer Birmingham prices coming back as it goes through a correction phase, and but 5 of the 8 capital cities have actually had rises in the last 12 months. Hobart rising a lot, is still growing in double digits, and then we've got in annual terms, Melbourne, Canberra, Brisbane and Adelaide all in annual terms have had an increase in their property values overall, according to these figures, though not as much as Hobart's 13% annual rise, according to these figures. So what does this, the headlines that we're seeing mean when they say national property values are falling? Well, it's just rubbish. It's not true. It's really, again, primarily a Sydney situation. Sydney's dragging down the average for the capital cities, and it's dragging down the average for the nation overall, but 5 of the 8 capital cities are still recording increases, and the regional areas, some of which have got very significant markets like Geelong and Newcastle, still rising. So don't be deterred by those headlines. Look behind the headlines and see what the figures are actually saying. Now, if you have a view on that, I'd like to know what you think about that. Your opportunity to ask questions or make comments is tonight, because tonight is our monthly live Q&A, where you get the opportunity to, in a live session via Facebook, to give me your comments or your questions, and I'll respond as best I can. That starts tonight at 7:30 p.m. in the eastern states, 7 p.m. in the middle states, and 5:30 in Western Australia. So if you've got any questions you'd like to put to me or any comments you'd like to make, tune in at that time tonight, and it's the one big opportunity that you have each month to throw some questions at me, and I'll do my best to answer. So hopefully I'll see you online tonight, this evening, with the live Q&A. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. I will talk to you this evening if you tune in.